And today we're going to be doing Motivational Monday. And I forgot to take my little yarn winder down, but I'll do that in just a second. But let's do this real quick and we'll get everything going. So, welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. All right, let's take a look here and let me just change positions and we'll go here. All right, so here we go. So, today is Motivational Monday. My name is Kelly. This is the I Bring It Everyday channel. And the plan of the channel on Motivational Mondays is to start your week off on a positive note and to make a few plans and then go through the rest of the week and work the plan and try to move yourself forward in life if you find that you might be stuck. And like I said, it's not that you have to do big adjustments to your life, but if there's anything that you really want to do, this is the time to do it. All right, now. Okay, so welcome in. I see some eyeballs there. All right, so here we go. So, and the other thing is, I like to look at motivational quotes and what people are talking about. And usually, what I look at is relatively successful people who understand, they got to where they got to because of what they did. So, anyway, so like I said, so welcome to Motivational Monday. Forgot to do this. Monday. All right. And this is I Bring It Every Day. And the reason that I call my channel I Bring It Every Day is I realize that that's really what you have to do. You have to do that on a daily basis to move yourself forward in life. You got to work it. You really have to work it. So just keep that in mind. All right. So anyway, this week, so I found two quotations from George Horace Lorimer. And he was the editor of the Saturday Evening Post. And so there was a couple of things that he said that were very interesting. I'm going to have to read this because it's very, very long. But the first thing he said was, if there's anything worse than knowing too little, is knowing too much. Education will broaden a narrow mind, but there's no known cure for a big head. The best you can hope is that it will swell up and bust. Well, all right. So let's see. I'm going to share this. See if this will let me share it. I don't know. We'll see what happens here. Here we go. All right. And hopefully you can see this. There it is. All right now. And I'll make this big. But anyway, that's the story there. So this is, like I said, George Lorimer, and like he was the editor of the Saturday Evening Post for quite a long time, and he had a couple of very interesting quotes that I thought, very interesting. So, so here's the thing, at least in my opinion, social media is kind of one of those things where, like, you have to have a little bit of ego, which is fine, but the biggest thing that you have to be concerned about is having too much ego. Yeah. So that's the deal there. Yeah. So, but anyway, but what he said is, a lot of times ego gets people in trouble. And this is what I think. This is just me, kind of extemporaneously thinking about this whole thing. Is that like I grew up with some pretty big egos in my house. And that's part of the reason why I was probably shrinking a little bit, because a lot of people had big egos. And they deserved it because they worked hard and did stuff. So I'm not mad at them. But the thing that's interesting is when you're amongst people who are really big, so sometimes it's hard to, find your way through, the noise of other people who are really, really, really large. But here's the thing. So you have to have some ego in order to, you have to love yourself. You have to have some ego so that you go forward in life and do things. But on the other hand, what can happen is, pride, so you look, that's one of the 7 deadly sins, in the Bible. Pride can really get you into trouble. And a lot of times, people who are very, very proud tend not, I notice that they don't fall very much. even when they probably should be humbled. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's like it's weird. You know, in life you have to have this balance. You have to have enough ego to love yourself enough to do the best for yourself within reason and without hurting other people. But then there's people who their ego is so big that it's all about themselves. You know what I mean? So there's a little bit of conflict there. But anyway, so that's kind of the first, first thing here. And let me just do one thing. I'm just going to take a moment and just take a breath. And then let me just see. I cannot find I'm going to just take a look at the chat real quick. I think I can get in here now. Okay, there we go. All right. So we got a bunch of people. I'm going to just stop in and greet the people that chose to share their time with me. And like I said, thank you so much for coming in. And let me see if I got everybody. All right. So we have, I'm going to start from the bottom on the top. Go starting from the bottom. Now we're here. Okay. So we have Kenneth Wilkinson, or Chris is here. Good morning. We have Coley Nicole. Hey, good morning. And let's see, everybody's saying hi. We have Renee Unraveled. We have Carol's Crazy Crochet and More. Thank you so much. And we have Suzanne. Good day, everyone. And hold on, I'm going to take a sip here. Mm-hmm. Boy, I feel like I've been talking too much already. And hopefully I didn't. Let me see if I got everybody. Did I get everybody? I hope I did. All right, let's see. Okay. I think we got everybody. All right. I hope I didn't miss anybody. And let me know if I did, because I can't scroll. I think that's it. Will it let me scroll? Come on. Yeah, I think that's all I can see. So anyway, so thank you so much for coming in. Okay, so that's the first thing. So that's that. This is the quote, like I said, from George Lorimer. Now I'm going to show you the second one. Let me see. I'll stop sharing for a sec. And yeah, so anyway, so back to me again. Okay. All right, so let's see here. So the next one, yeah, I guess I should move this. I should have moved that. Anyway, we'll go to the next one. So the other thing that I was thinking about, so this George Lorimer said one more thing. So he said, and this is really where the motivational Mondays come in, and I'm going to write this one in because at least I have room. That other quote was so long that I could not get that in there. And I just want us to kind of meditate on this one. Okay. Oh, this is long too. He's very wordy. So, he was a journalist, so you know what happens. Okay. But that other one, it's never going to fit on here. Termination. Oh boy, barely fits. Hold on. Yeah, I'm going to have to make that. I'm going to have to fix that. Yeah, he's very wordy. Okay, here we go. And this is really the one I want you to meditate on here. Okay, so let me read this. So you've got to get up every morning with determination if you're going to go to bed with satisfaction. So this is something really good to think about. So once again, we're always talking about if there's anything you want to do, you got to work it. And the thing is, if you've done nothing all day, will you go to bed satisfied? And the question is, the answer, it's obvious. The answer is no. But I just think that this is just something to think about. And this is every day. Now I'm going to get back toward the very end of this, and I'm going to tell you why I was kind of thinking about all this stuff. And this quote just kind of came to me last night. And let me just put his name. It's George Lorimer. And I'll put this in the description, after the fact. But anyway, so there it is. All right, so let's talk about that for a minute. Okay, so let's meditate on this one for a moment, and then we'll see. All right. But this is really interesting. So once again, this talks about, usually in life, if you have dissatisfaction with what's going on, there's always some kind of a nagging thing in your stomach where you go, oh, this just isn't right. It just isn't right. I need to do more. I need to do more. So the bottom line is this is something that you have to do. So and he's basically saying, you have to do something throughout the day, or else you're not going to have any satisfaction. And that's the thing. And you have to have that determination and perseverance and other things like that to make things happen, to move forward. And so I want to see what the chat thinks about that. See if I can see you. Okay. So yeah. Oh, the Bud Files is here. Welcome in. Yeah. So this is interesting too. So this is George Lorimer. So he's saying, hey, you gotta work it. You know what I mean? You gotta work it. And but you're not gonna be satisfied at the end of the day. And so I don't know if you guys do this, but one of the things that I've been doing lately and here and there is just saying, okay, um, you know, just even looking back at the end of the day, like what did I do today? Did I accomplish some of the things that I want to do? And like I said, you don't want to overfill your day. And then you don't want to do like I heard somebody saying a few days, like maybe a couple of weeks ago on their live stream that they put a lot of filler in their day. They have all these big plans, and then they found that they were doing kind of the easiest thing that was not really crucial to really moving them forward. And that's the thing. Like you have to really think, like what is going to get you further along in your life process. So in other words, so I'll give you, let's say, like what's a lame example? So let's just say, for example, you're trying to, you have to fix something that's broken, like it's some kind of a machine, or you gotta oil your, like let's just say chainsaw. You have to oil your chainsaw and do little maintenance on this thing. It's something that you're gonna need, and it's important. But then you'll go and you'll say, well, I'll clean the bathroom. I'll, put the dishes away. I'll do just kind of random stuff, that doesn't really, like, in other words, if you need to get your yard done and you need to cut something down, you have to have your equipment working, which is a bigger kind of a priority. So that's like part of the whole thing. It's like a priority thing. But so you don't want to get into the habit of just doing like the little tiny stuff that you can kind of do in your sleep, or you could do it in 5 minutes, like the 5-minute jobs. Although the 5-minute jobs are important, but I think a lot of times people forget to do the big stuff um, because the 5-minute jobs are easier. You know what I mean? So that somebody was talking about that a few weeks ago, and I said, "Oh yeah," and I've done that before too. I mean, I think we all have, But yeah, you just have to sort of say, okay, what's the next thing that can get me further? So there it is. See a chainsaw. That's the only thing I can think of. Or like, you have to maintain the lawnmower. Like that's that kind of stuff. Like I can't do. I'm just not capable at this point of doing it. I've tried, I some of the things, but I'm not good at putting things together, taking things apart and then putting it back and all that stuff. So that's not my jam. So I always say, like, So anyway, but there's like big things like that. Or the other example, I'll give you this, and so I've been having these flashbacks about like high school and college and things like people I've met and all this stuff, and not in a bad way. But so, for example, somebody was telling me, oh my goodness, it was something really similar to that. They were just saying that like people just get stuck, that they've run into people and people get stuck, and like they've peaked in high school. I mean, that's the thing. Somebody said, oh my gosh, they peaked in high school. They've done nothing ever since. And I said, oh my gosh, I never wanted to be one of those people, because like I always expected, not a lot, but I expected, like we all have dreams and plans for our lives. You figure you're going to try a couple of things. There's some things you want to do. And if you're lucky enough, you're blessed enough to be able to make it happen and build your life and all that stuff. That's really cool. But then I thought, like, there's a couple of people I know that like they're still kind of back in high school and they're, and I'm long away from high school. So that's what all I'm saying is, like, I guess sometimes people get to a point where they give up. I don't know if they give up or maybe they just don't want things. I don't know. I always wonder, like, how did people get stuck? And that's like, especially when you're sort of doing the same things that you were doing, 20, 30 years ago. It's kind of interesting. So, something to think about. Yeah. And let's see. So Renee said, oh, sorry, let me go back. So we have Beat After Beat. Welcome in. We have Miss Sonia's Creations. Good morning. And Susan E's here. Good to see you. Thanks for coming in. Everybody's saying hi. And let's see. So Renee said Renee does enjoy her chainsaw, which we do. So I did buy a small, I don't know if I told you, but I did buy one of those little small ones. Those are great. They're like my favorite. But anyway, we'll talk about that later. Yes. Oh, yes, yes. You're Renee. Yeah, you got it. And that's the way I feel too. Um, yes, it is frustrating when you see someone you care about get stuck. You just want to shake them. Yeah. And and it's kind of weird because like I was talking to some people and they were saying, yeah, they never went to college, they never went to school, like they never went to trade school. They're just kind of working. Not that there's anything wrong with working a retail job, but like they were much more capable of other things, of bigger things, but I don't know if they even saw it in themselves. And that's kind of what we were saying. And I said, yeah, I know it's really kind of scary because like you don't want to get stuck. But yeah, and then when you see other people get stuck, you do, and I know like when you have children, like that's where you're at. You're just like, oh God, I hope they don't get stuck. So but you try to talk to them and do the best that you can, but it's hard. You know what I mean? Because sometimes people don't always, they don't always hear they don't always learn your wisdom. And so my whole thing is, and I know, like, for example, with education, see, education is is a double-ended sword because you need some, and at least I think you need to open your mind to things that you may not know. But on the other hand, if you know too much, sometimes that's bad too. And there's like a lot of people like they just want to prove that they're right about everything. You know what I mean? And so like I never really cared. But I had people in my family who were like that. They were always like proving you wrong and fighting you about all this minor stuff that doesn't matter. But that's the biggest thing that I always say, like, why it shouldn't matter. You know what I mean? Yeah, it really shouldn't matter. See, get that a little closer. There we go. That's better. So at least you can sort of see that. But yeah, so I don't know. So that's kind of where we are. Yeah. So and like I said, for your kids, you want the best for your kids, and you want to guide them and things like that, and you hope that over the years they sort of hear some of the stuff that you talk about. But anyway, there's that. Yes. Yeah. And yep. And yep. Renee said, "Education opens doors. It's how the world works." Yeah. And Susan, let's see. Susan said she's crocheting a rug from old sheets. See, that's like recycle, reuse. That's really good. And I think that's something like at this point we all probably should do, because I've been sort of analyzing, like sort of the life and all the stuff that in the old days when I had like a lot of cash and stuff. I used to sit there and how you buy like random stuff you don't need all the time. And but for me now, I really like the recycle reuse concept because like a lot of this stuff goes to the landfill. And I noticed, like this was yard sale weekend, and we only went to like 2 yard sales, and I saw so many clothes, and it was just like, I know that it's eventually going to end up in a landfill because people, they must buy so many clothes, just mountains and mountains of clothes. Like I've never seen anything like it. And now, luckily, with the yard sale, you're sort of recycling and reusing, but the amount that they had just blew my mind, and I can't even describe to you how much clothing they had. It was crazy. So yeah, there's that. Yes. Oh, and then Renee said, "Okay, yeah, the world isn't always fair, but that's how it works." Yeah, it's kind of interesting, and I've been kind of reflecting on that too. Like I had a lot of people, and just kind of getting real serious for a second. So I had a lot of people in my high school class, pass away from a lot of really tragic situations. And I guess that's kind of where I'm at, where my I'm kind of not down, but I'm kind of like, well, it's just weird, like thinking about all these people. So, and just to put everything in context, I lived in a really small town where everybody knew each other, and and like really, really intertwined. And people just don't live that way anymore. But it's really, really strange. Like I think within the first 5 years of me graduating from high school, I think we lost about 10 people. And it was just car accidents and suicide and you know, the M word, like all kinds of stuff was going on. And I just said, man, and and you sit there and you go, like, what could those people have been, had they survived a little longer, or if they made other choices or whatever, you know what I mean? So that's really, I guess that's really what I'm always like amazed that, a lot of it was, a lot of it was bad choices. Some of it was, accidental. Some of it was, I guess life in too much. I don't know. But the only thing is that I realize every day is that once if you wake up, at least you have one more chance to do something. And given the way this world is really, it's been kind of in a really negative slant, but I just think at this point it's really important for people to try to do the best by themselves and other people, and be respectful, and that's really it. You know what I'm saying? Like, give when you can. When you see a need, try to step in and help if you can, and things like that. Because I just feel like a lot of people have been sort of going the other way. Like they're just, and I know the pandemic really didn't help. Like a lot of people are really, really self-centered because they just had to. They felt like I understand that they felt like it was survival, and it was, I guess, for a moment, because nobody really knew what was happening. But now, like we've been out of this now for, it's been what, 4 years? I'll say we got out of there around 22, I guess, maybe. And but so people, so the bad habits that kind of developed while people were hunkered down, are still there. And so it's kind of scary to me. But hopefully, you know, just like I said, all I'm trying to do is just to give you just a little food for thought. And if you can do something, if somebody's in need and you're able to help in whatever way, do it. If you can't, then that's another thing. But there it is. All right. So anyway, there's that soapbox. Now, okay. Oh, okay. Oh, interesting. So Renee, so anyway, so back to that. So the world isn't always fair, and so people get, yeah, some people get good opportunities, some people don't. And I know for a lot of the people that got into stuff, you know, that led to their downfall. They were into stuff that wasn't good for them. You know what I mean? In a lot of ways, and so that's what happened. But anyway, but I think that's part of it too. So I'm just saying, like, opportunity. It's funny, people don't realize that opportunity, or like if somebody gives you a chance, it's huge. It's life altering. I'm telling you, it's life altering. And and I'm a prime example of people giving me a chance. My last job, I did it. I wasn't the most qualified for it, but I wasn't the most unqualified for it. But they were willing to train me. So it kept me employed, for about 5 years. And otherwise, I would have had to do something else. So I mean, in some ways, like I realize, like having an opportunity can really help you out. And it's not without, and it's not like I didn't do the work, because I did, but things like that. But anyway, let's keep going. So Renee said, does buying wool qualify as recycling? Makes me feel better about yesterday's purchases. I don't know. It's weird. So here's the thing. I've noticed lately, as if you ever go on like the marketplace or whatever, there are a lot of, there's a lot of yarn. So we have yarn people here. And sorry, I'm laughing because we're all like, is there more yarn? Like we need more yarn. But the funny thing that I'm realizing is, like, a lot of stuff really does go to landfill. And so I think if you can give it away, sell it, whatever you can do, it's all good. Now, I think, like, I guess, I'm not sure how, how the yarn shows. I mean, a lot of people make a lot of new stuff. I've noticed everything, like the fiber festivals it's all brand new. But I think if you look on the marketplace and stuff like that, or in those, I don't even know if they still do those like penny saver, penny pincher things. But a lot of times you can find a lot of equipment and yarn and stuff like and yarn, knitting needles and things like that in thrift stores. Like because I enjoy a good thrift store here and there. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. So I don't know. So I guess it depends if it's old or it's new. But I am finding that like at least amongst the crafting people, we could definitely share and save and exchange and things like that. So it's kind of cool. But I think yeah, but I think it can be. Yeah, it can be. Let's see. And then Susan E saying, I like using t-shirts for rugs. Also, I'm in the recycle mood, I guess. Like, yeah. And I think we all are, and I don't know what you do with your plastic and your paper and all that stuff. But like some where I live, there's not a whole lot of recycling, which is kind of bad. Because for me, it's like the plastic. I'm really concerned about the plastic. I'm one of those, crazy hippie who's like, what are they going to do with all the plastic? There was a movie where the lady's like, what are they going to do with all the garbage? And I was like, yeah, that's a good question. But yeah, so for me, I see like so much plastic, and that's where I kind of it makes me a little, I get have a little angst about it because it's everywhere. There's just so much stinking plastic, and that stuff does not really recycle, and it's kind of sad. But back in the early 2000s, sort of when we started recycling in my little township where I was living, they took plastic very very early, and I remember thinking, I said, boy, can they recycle this? And yeah, and they sure did. But but I heard that like China used to take our plastic and then they stopped probably around 2003, 4, 5, somewhere in there. And so I think most of that from that time on is in the landfill, which is terrible. But I don't know, like I just would love to do something more with the plastic. That's just my little thing. But the t-shirt thing I think is good. And also, oh, sheets. Okay, wait, hang on just a second. I have to show you this thing. I got this at the thrift store the other day and I just hand washed it. But I'll show you. Hang on just a second. Let me grab this. I didn't iron it. Okay, I didn't iron this, but I saw this, in a bag at the thrift store. Or no, not the thrift store, but at the flea market. And speaking of sheets, this lady made an apron out of sheets. So I'm gonna show you this. Let me see if I can show you. All right. Now it's got a little stain. I was trying to get this stain out, but I couldn't get it without bleaching. Let me see if I can get that in there. But so this is the pocket. See if you can see that. There we go. There's the pocket. Let me see if I can go out just a little bit. In, out. Let's go out. Oh, that's as far as I can go. Oh well. Anyway, this is the apron. And so that's the ties. So anyway, there's the apron. So it's got a little pocket on the front. And this is a sheet. And I don't know if you can see this. It's like a little floral sheet. And then this is the bottom. So this must have been the pillowcase, I guess. So this woman sewed a apron out of a sheet, which I thought was amazing. But it was pretty clean. But like a lot of times you get it, it's kind of mildewy or whatever. So I washed it by hand. And but anyway, it needs to be ironed. But she put this cute little pocket here, which I thought was amazing. But anyway, so this is a good recycle. So you put this. This is like one of those waist aprons, that you put around the waist. But I thought that was really cool. Yeah. So I'm digging that. So this is one of my favorite things that I found that I just thought was interesting, as a recycling situation. Because I would have never thought to do a sheet. And this is one of those old, pretty good thread count sheets from back in the day. So yeah, what do you think of that? That's pretty funny, right? Yeah, isn't that cool? I know. So I would recommend anybody who does cooking. I would see. I guess you would have to sew a couple of these if you wanted to do a full apron. But yeah, this is one of just those little things around the waist. But anyway, it's got a little stain right there. And I lightened it, but it's almost gone. I think one more time I should be able to do it. But I'm trying to be real gentle because this feels pretty old. Like I don't even know how old this is. But that's amazing. Yeah, and she did a pretty good sewing job there. I'm checking out her stitches. Pretty good, pretty good. Yeah. So anyway, so that's my little recycle thing that I've been kind of doing. And my husband also does a little bit with like he's kind of a gaming nerd, so he's really into that. I'll put this back so you can keep this in our thoughts. He's a gaming nerd, and he's been fixing a lot of broken stuff for people. So it's pretty cool. So that's a cool thing to do. And let's see. Hang on. Let's see a couple of. Let me see. But this is cool. Like I said, I'm really into. Like I said, I became a thrift store person because I didn't realize how well things were made back in the day. And I try to show that to my daughters, and I think they finally figured it out now. Like at first, they sort of fought me on it, but they did notice too that things are made really really well. Yep. And then okay, oh, this is funny. Renee said my mom made quilts from old clothes. Yeah, yeah. So that's what you guess, and I think that's the beauty of the quilting. And then a lot of times now, what people are doing is they're doing the like if somebody passes, you can take their clothes and then make a quilt out of it, sort of as a remembrance. And I've been seeing a lot of that lately. And a friend of mine does that, which I thought was pretty cool. So that's another recycling thing. And then I saw a lady yesterday made hoodies out of quilts. I guess they were ripped quilts and or bed covers. And she made hoodies out of them, which I thought was strange, but interesting. Like I kind of went, but I have to give it to her because because a lot of times they rip, every time things rip, and then you do something good with something that may be, in disrepair, right? So I thought that was pretty cool. And then Susan's in pajama pants. I like that out of the sheets. And then Susan also said, Renee, my old friend lost his wife around a year ago. He wants me to make a quote from her clothes. Yes, I think that's amazing. If you can do that, that'll bring him a lot of comfort. And I've known a couple of people that have received those. Yeah. Oh, you like that? Yeah, the hoodie. That was weird because she used one of those nice chenille bedspreads from back. I know they use them a lot in the South. She made this. It was weird, and it had like the peacock around the waist. I don't know. I gotta get. It was kind of weird, but I said okay. Yeah. So I'm one of those people who's just like, alrighty now, but I got to give it to him. So, but anyway, but like I said, just getting back a little bit. So that's why I was really kind of thinking about life. You know what I mean? Like kind of thinking about life and just some of the things. And like I said, I've been very fortunate and blessed, to have come through, like a lot of stuff, and I'm okay. You know what I mean? But luckily, my stuff is so small in comparison to a lot of people's stuff. So I'm like, whew, you know what I mean? And I said, boy, all these people I knew, and like I said, within probably even like a month or two, we had so many people pass away. It was terrible in my high school, which was weird, because like they were like 22, 21. No, they weren't even 22. They were like 19, 18. Yeah, they were like 19. Because I was a little younger than my people in my class. But yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy, crazy, crazy. But yeah, like Susan, that's great if you can make that for your friend. Yeah, that'll be nice. Yep. Because yeah, it is. It's definitely very comforting. And like I said, that's just one of those things you can always do for somebody. You know what I mean? Even though it may or may not cost you a whole lot of money, but it's just a nice little gesture that can really, alter somebody's, the way they feel. You know what I mean? They can uplift somebody. And I guess that's what I'm really talking about. Yeah. That's a beautiful thing. Am I under your bed? I'm afraid to ask why you're asking that question. Oh, I'm hiding? And maybe that's what it is. Hmm. But anyway, yeah, it's kind of interesting. So, oh, may I help you? Are you good? All right. Cool. I'm almost done. All right. So, but I just thought that was hilarious. Like I said, that the woman made the hoodies out of the quilts. I mean, like I said, I like creative people. So when people do stuff that I'm not gonna do, I'm kind of like, all right now, you know, I applaud. I kind of go, okay, I got you. All right, so here we go. So we're gonna take a breath and relieve a little bit of stress before we get started and head off into the sunset. Let's see if I can do this without mayhem. So I have this huge bowl here. I'm going to put this on my counter. So I can't leave it on the table. I don't know if it's going to, let's see. Let's see if this vibrates appropriately. It may not. So let's take a look. All right, here we go. Woo! So it's a big one. Let's see. I may have to put something underneath, but we'll see if it'll work. All right, here we go. Let me come back out a little bit. Yeah, that's funny. Gotta move him over. All right, here we go. Let me take this off of here. Yeah, I was winding some yarn, and I always forget to take this off. But I've been really working the yarn, and the yarn people know exactly what I'm talking about. Here we go. All right, here we go. Let's see. If not, I may have to put a little thing under here. All right, here we go. Okay. I don't know if it's not gonna vibrate. Okay, I gotta do it on my little thingy here. All right, here we go. Let's try it again. All right. Woo! All right. There it goes. That was good. All right now. Yeah, I need to put a little fabric under here. So let's do it one more time. And hopefully this will get you, like I said, just relax, de-stress a little bit. And then, you can hit the ground running. So let's do it a couple more times here. All right. One more. Hopefully that'll give you a little. Oh, I can almost feel that in my feet. It's kind of interesting. All right now. Yes. All right. So let's see. Let me check my chat real quick. Yep, everything's going. It's going. It's going. Okay, it's good. All right. Let's go in here. Let's come back. All right. So let's go back to this. And like I said, let's go back and summarize the two thoughts here. So I'm going to do the first one. And then we're going to do. Do. All right, let's share my screen. All right. Okay, here we go. So you want to get up. Got to get up every morning with determination if you're going to go to bed with satisfaction. All right, now. And then let's go to the other one. Let's see here. And this is interesting. Oh, I see everyone's chatting. All right, let's go to the second one. All right. So we got here. Hang on. Let's see the next one. This is George Lorimer. Let me just scroll a little bit here. Hang on. And this is a longer one. And I'm going to put this See if I can make this bigger. Okay, here we go. Okay. See if this will get. Oh, there it is. Okay. Yep. I thought I could make that bigger. I can't. Hang on. All right. So we got. So this is the long one that he said. He said, if there's anything worse than knowing too little, is knowing too much. And let's see. Hold on. Forgot I got to share. All right. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Share. All right. Just so you can see that. All right, there it is. Let me make him big. All right. Full screen. Oh, there we go. Okay. So if there's anything worse than knowing too little, it's knowing too much. And education will broaden the narrow mind, but there's no known cure for a big head. The best you can hope is that it will swell up and bust. So, no big heads. That's it. But yeah, so I'm going to be doing some more. Look at all this. This here's my winder here. Look at all this just crappy yarn I got to do something with. Roll all these up, rolling up a bunch of stuff. Did a few the other day, so I'm working on some of those, and there it is. But that's kind of your that's your charge. Just remember that you have to just be determined. Get something done today, this week. And like I said, we'll come back and reconvene. And before I go, if there's anything anybody wants to share that they accomplished this week before we go, that'd be cool. But like I said, you just need to keep going, and you got to be determined. But try to watch the swelled head. Pride doesn't help you at all. And those are the two things that I'm thinking about. Yeah. All right now. So let me go back to the chat. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Oh, here we go. Drew, hello. Well said. Good to see you, Drew. Absolutely 100. Thank you. Well said, and hello again. Sorry, darn time zones. I know. So Drew's in Australia, down under. Good day. Yes. So unless you're a crafter, that's what Susan E's saying. Everybody's saying long time no see. Good to see you. And living the life. Yeah. So that's the thing. Living the life. So, like I said, just like to reconvene and, and hopefully you're doing well, Drew. And Drew's taking a little bit of a break, which is good. But like I said, just, let us know if there's anything, like that, that you accomplished last week. And like I said, I reconnected with some people that I, needed to talk to and stuff like that. So that was really good. I did that and, did some gardening, did a little bit of volunteer hours last week. So that was awesome. And yeah, it was good. And yeah, so like I said, just let's keep going. Let's always support each other, whenever we can. And I think that's the deal, because life is hard out here, and I think, opportunities that people present are good. You know what I mean? Like they can always help each other out. You know what I mean? Whenever you can, whenever there's a need, don't be afraid to jump in. And I hope you're keeping well. Oh, that's very nice. That's the way, Renee. And always fantastic to see these vids, Kelly. Gives me a smile and inspiration. Well, thank you so much. All right, now. Let's see. I really appreciate it. Well, anyway, so thank you so much for coming in. Thank you so much for the subscribers and the members. And you don't have to be a member, but when you are, that I appreciate all the extra support. And you guys have really been. It's been good to get to have some people that you can not lean on, but that's like that song. Now I just think it's good to have the people that you can chit chat with and that you have commonalities with, and I think that's really really good. Because it's so like crucial. You know what I mean? Like we're really it's really important. And it's good, and I think, and it's good that like we're all, all over the world, and it's kind of nice. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, Let's see. Oh, let's see. Got a couple more comments here. Oh, peace, bye, and hearts. Thank you, Suzanne. Yeah, that's good. All right. So listen, well, thank you so much for coming in. And let me just, I gotta change this thingy here. I'm all backward. Yeah. Let's see. I did stop sharing. I did. Okay, cool. But anyway, so like I said, let's do one last thought, and then this should do it for me. But you know, like I said, you got to bring it every now. You got to bring it every day. Not every day, but when you can. And that's what I'm just that's the charge I'd like to leave you with is enjoy your day. Enjoy your week. Your day / week. And I'd just like to say thank you. Thank you all, for your support and well wishes. So there it is. All right, now we did it. Okay. So anyway, thank you so much, and we'll see you soon on the YouTube streets. All right, now. And listen, like I said, whenever you get a chance, just share if you have any good stuff happening. That's really, I think we all kind of need it for real. And there's no pride in that, like like that's a good thing. You know what I mean? Because I think we all could use a little boost, and I'm hoping that we can all do that. All right, now. Well, thank you so much. Enjoy your day. We'll see you soon. Bye bye. Let's see. Oh, one more. Let's see, one more. Have a fantastic week ahead, Kelly, and everyone else. Thank you, Mr. Drew. I like that. That's the I'm gonna pin that. Woohoo! That's a good comment. I'll pin that there. Thank you so much. And that's the thought for the day. But do some good works. Do something good. All right, now. Take care. Bye bye.